is Elliot and Stuff Music. We have some fretware here, as you can see, on this Guild F-30 acoustic guitar. Our goal for today here is to remove these frets and prepare some frets for installation. We'll walk through the process of removing frets. First step in a refret, getting these old guys out of here. I'm going to put some water along the fret and use the soldering iron to heat that up, create a little bit of steam, break the glue joint there. Run it along. It's going to prevent as much chip out as possible. You'll probably get a little bit, but try to limit that. Prevent as much cleanup. There's some finger chud right there. So that should be good. Kind of clean up along here. I'm going to take this tool here, which is just kind of nippers that are ground flat. I'm going to work under the fret. Kind of lift it up. Start on this end. And that one kind of popped out more than I wanted it to. But pretty clean, not too much chip out at all. That can definitely be cleaned up, and that's going to kind of be the process. Alright, so we got our pile of frets there that came out of this, and they came out pretty cleanly. Usually I can expect at least a few chip outs that I then have to touch up and kind of make disappear. But in this case, I don't think I'm going to have to do very much of that at all. So the next step here is to pop out that nut, and we're going to plane this board and make sure it's all true. Alright, so we just ran that long bar and got this pretty true. Fretboard looks good. At this point, I'm going to use this radius block and try to restore the radius to what it was before. I'm going to use this technique, it's kind of a brush the horse technique, where I'll go up a little bit, and I'll go up a little bit more, and then I'll fly off here at the end. So that'll add some natural fall away. So as the fretboard gets a little bit thinner as you go down, and it allows for less buzz as you move up the fret. So I'm going to do that process right now. Okay, so now that we have the fretboard all cleaned up and that's radius, we're going to select some fret wire here, and we're going to use our fret wire bender here to establish the correct radius, and then we'll get ready to tap them in. Alright, bending the fret wire here.
Sure you're doing that right?
Smooth as butter. Okay, so I have my fret wire bent. Now I'm going to size it for each fret. Cut it off, and then place it into my fret index. That's where I'll place all my frets, get them ready to hammer in whenever it's time to do it. Okay, so my fretboard is cleaned up. Fretboard's looking good. I have the frets all cut to the right size. I'm going to get to the point here where I'm going to chamfer these slots so that the frets go in a little bit easier. Just going to run this back and forth, and then I'm going to use this tool over here. It's a Dremel with a router base, and I have a little bit down there that's going to cut the perfect size slot for this fret tang. fret tang being the little bottom there. And that's going to go right in the slot there, and it's going to be, you know, prepped perfectly so that it just goes in easily, and it'll make the job a lot smoother. So yeah, I'm going to start that now. Alright, so I have all my fret slots prepared now. I slotted them all with that Dremel tool. There were more chip outs than I expected there to be, so I spent a little bit of time kind of rubbing some super glue and some wood dust in there, and it's kind of made those blend in a little bit better. So this is the dry board, and I'm going to wipe some naphtha across it now. That's what that rosewood's going to look like after I have it all oiled up and done. So at this point now, the slots are chamfered, ready to go. I'm going to start tapping these frets in using some wood glue, and then I'll show you my clamping, and we'll go from there. Okay, so fret slots are ready to go. I have my fret index here. I'm going to just start putting some glue down, and I'm going to tap these in. Shouldn't take too much, as the slots are all manicured and ready to accept it. Wipe up the excess there. Usually do like 5 or 6 at a time, so the glue doesn't set. Clean up as much of this glue. It's easy to clean up with water using fish glue. That's why I like to use it. This is a luthier grade glue available at StewMac. And these frets should almost be able, I should almost be able to push them in with my fingers, but just not quite. And then little taps. And that's seated nicely. I'm gonna go down and not trying to slam them in there, just trying to tap them in nicely. That my pins are sitting down well. That looks good. Now I'm going to clean up this excess glue and should be good to move on to the next step. Okay, so I've tapped in all the frets here. I do 10 at a time. It looks like I'm going to do it in 2 waves here. I'm going to do the first one, I'm going to let these dry, and then tomorrow I'll clamp the rest of them. But this is a clamping method that the head luthier here, Tom Krebs, came up with. He's working on a fluorescent guitar over there right now, but I'm going to use a couple radius blocks here, and the radius block spans 2 frets. The idea being that, you know, if there's a 3rd fret or more frets in there, they're not going to be clamped down if it's spanning 2 of them. So this way, you know, it's kind of foolproof. But yeah, Tom was doing this, and I picked it up. I really enjoy I like the process, and it has good results. But use this cam clamp here, have that down. I have another block underneath to protect the back of the neck, and this spans those 2 frets. Goes like that, and then clamp it into place. And it doesn't take a whole lot of clamping pressure, because these slots, you know, I spend a lot of time making sure that they fit the tang nicely. So I'm going to do that with 4 more blocks, and then I'm going to let it sit overnight. All right, so here's a look at the clamping setup here. We have 1 block for each of these 2 frets, so that's 10 frets in total, but that's going to make sure that they're seated nicely. Once again, that is a head luthier, Tom's innovation over here, working on this yellow guitar. Ooh, blinding Tom. So yeah, we'll get to these frets here tomorrow. Okay, so we have this Guild F-30 acoustic guitar. I had yesterday put in the first 10 frets and then clamped them. I have this array of cam clamps here, and then the radius blocks, one for every 2 frets to keep those seated. So I'm gonna pop these off and see how we did. Okay, so yeah, first glance, everything looks good. I have this feeler gauge. It's a 2/1000 of an inch feeler gauge. I kind of run that along to make sure there's no gaps under the frets, just to make sure everything got seated nicely. And just, you know, visually I can tell that it looks really good. I'm gonna run this along here, and yeah, everything looks really solid. So all the frets sat down nicely. I'm even going to pull out a fret rocker here and kind of see, just gauge our progress and make sure that, you know, make sure it looks like everything is pretty level. Ideally, at the end of this, I would have to do just a very short fret level. Just take very little off. That one's really good, really level. Yeah, not getting much rock at all out of these. So that shows me that these are all level. A little bit of a rock there, but that's not a big deal. Bit there, but yeah, these are all really level. I could potentially, you know, string this guitar up after this refret and it would play nicely. It doesn't necessarily even need a fret level, but we're definitely going to do it anyway. So now I'm going to clip these nibs off and then put the other frets in and clamp it, same kind of thing, and then at that point we'll be good to just do a fret level and send it on its way. So during this last portion of the refret, I'm going to be using a tool called a fret buck, which is a large cast iron support. This goes in here under the sound hole, and it's going to lift up the end of the fretboard. The idea being there that when I hit in these final frets, it doesn't end up cracking around the rosette, which is easy enough to do. So it'll just be under here, holding it up, kind of supporting it, adding weight to it. That way I can safely put these frets in and not crack the top of the guitar. So you'll see that here in a second. Alright, so I have all the frets installed now. The last 10 were just done. I had the fret buck out, hammered those in, tapped them in rather, and now I have it clamped up. This clamping setup even crazier than the one yesterday. Right here we have it so that this, you know, bottom sits on the end block, and then up here I can kind of, you know, have a neck rest there, and I can kind of, you know, clamp all this. You know, it doesn't need a whole lot of clamping pressure, but this is going to make sure that those fret ends do not pop up. But yeah, we have all our frets in from yesterday. Those all look good. And then these are probably going to seat just as nicely. And then tomorrow we'll take this off and we'll start to dress everything. But yeah, everything's looking good. All right, this is Elliot Swauger at In Stuff Music, and this is the final day of this Guild F-30 refret. It's been quite a journey. As you can see, it's all clamped up. I'm going to take these clamps off, kind of cut the nibs, and we're going to start dressing this guy down. I'll have a time-lapse video of that happening. You can see the whole process from fret install into fret level and dress. But yeah, here we go. All right, we did it. The guitar is fully refretted. As you see, we have nice, shiny, new frets, no divots. This improves the intonation. He's able to have much lower action now, so it's playing really comfortably and sounding really good, sounding really in tune. So he should be able to get a couple, maybe even 3 fret levels out of this before the frets need to be replaced again. So yeah, so he's good to go for a little while. But yeah, it's, as you can see, it's a multi-day process. You know, I like the way that I do it. I could cut some corners, but I think the results are really good when I do it this way. And yeah, just like past refrets, this one turned out great too. So I'm excited for the customer to play it.